Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into this show today. Now today, as we wrap up the month of July and move deeper into the summer months of August, we must first do so by obeying the Riddler and fulfilling our Q&A, our monthly Q&A that we do here every time the Riddler goes up. You know the deal. You drop your questions down below, and then I just read them and give you answers in the order they came in. So we're talking about everything from potential credit card refreshes, where I would go if I was team travel. We'll also talk on, which Amex card looks the best, all that and more. Now, of course, we go long on this show, give everyone a thorough answer to their question. So chapters 2 will be down below. Feel free to jump around as your heart desires. But with that, no need to burn any more daylight. Go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. So we're batting leadoff with Caesar here, who is usually an Amex troll, but this is a decent question. So what is the best color option for the Amex Gold? So they have a gold and they have a rose gold, even if you don't have the card. I did have it at some point. So the rose gold was supposed to be like limited edition, and then they just made it a regular one. Now you can choose. I'll put both of them up. I mean, the rose gold doesn't really look rose golden. Granted, there's a lot of different variations of rose gold. I'd probably go with the classic gold one myself. I've never seen the rose in person. It looks more pink, though, in the pictures and everything. But I think for Mike, it's more of a conversation starter. I guess I'd go with the rose because I've never seen one in person. But overall, I think they could do probably a little bit better on the color, but I don't think the rose looks bad. So I guess the rose is actually my answer, simply because it looks a little bit different, a little bit unique, and you don't see it that much. So that's the one I would go with. But let me know which one you pick down below. Of course, I think it's only for the personal. The business is straight to business and just gold. So rose gold, the answer. All right, Red Sox Nation, here we go. With Chase and Cap One building out their lounge network and Amex having their Centurion lounges, do you think Citi should jump into the lounge network game? And of course, he gives his favorite call sign as he ramps up for another election year. But he asked a real question, so we'll let it slide. No, because I think Citi is just so not good at a lot of things by their own design. So I can't imagine them doing it well, right? I mean, Citi's the one who puts World Elite on all their credit cards, and then it's really hit or miss which World Elite benefits actually carry over to what card. I still think that's misleading, not super helpful. So I can't imagine them doing a lounge network and it being that amazing. Like, to me, it'd be like a low tier priority pass lounge where maybe there's like a bowl of peanuts like from the bar and they got a few sodas and like one drink option behind it. I just can't see them doing it. I still to this day don't even really think about Citi as travel. Honestly, I mean, I know they have, the American Airlines cards, but they don't even have them as a travel partner anymore. Again, we keep talking about these Strata cards. We're over the halfway through the year. We haven't seen them. Granted, they never announced anything. We just saw the trademark filings for them. So no, I just don't think Citi would do good at it because they haven't shown any interest in it at all. Their best bet would be to partner with someone, kind of how Chase partnered with the club, which is in the Priority Pass network, to run their lounges. If they wanted to do that and just kind of brand them, like, private label, white label them, whatever you want to call it, then maybe. But could they go the American Express or Capital One? No, I just don't think they care enough to do that. So if you're going to do it to the level that they probably do that, I'd probably just say sit it out. It'd be nice to see. Also, I just at some point, how many lounges do we need? But yeah, I just don't think Citi would be good at that because they have so much stuff. All right. Ed here, next up. He says, I'm very close to being under 524. I should be under starting September 10th. Getting close, bud. Been over a year since I opened a personal card. Must be hard, man. My plan is to go the Inked and Wyndham Rewards business. Which card should I apply for both, since both are business? I'd say you look at either you prioritize for need or intro offer, honestly. So, if there's an immediate need for one over the other, then go for that one. If there's not an immediate need for either one of them, then I'd say whichever intro offer is higher. So, if you were looking at Ink cards, right now, again, the Ink Preferred has that reduced spend from $15,000 to $8,000 on the Ink Preferred. That could be the way to go, simply because at the time, we don't know if that's going to last or for how long. I think that's going to end up being the normal spend requirement for that card, but I can't say. So it's like that might be the one to go for, since it is right now adjusted and we don't know it's going to stay, and then follow up with the Wyndham card and then work your way through the other Ink cards as well. But that's what I would do. I would just prioritize need. or intro offer first, like however those fit for you. But over time, the other ink cards will definitely be there. The cash and the unlimited, those offers usually like 750 is like the new baseline offer. It has been for quite some time, so I think those will stick around for a while. Plus, we know those can punch up to $900 like they did earlier this year. So I would say you're probably looking at the ink preferred and then the Wyndham card in whichever order, based on that criteria suits you. But stay strong, my brother. You are almost there, and it's going to be a lot of fun when you get there. All right, Lawrence McKnight, tell us about your wristwatch game. I own a couple of Omegas, Tudors, and Seikos. Can't see myself to tickle a jeweler just to get in a Rolex waiting list. We're going to have to explain that to the audience. Or justify to spend the amount for Rolex. It's funny because I was actually just talking to a young lady at the gym this morning before I was filming this about like the Apple Watch. She still had like the Apple Watch Series 1, and that was the only Apple Watch I had actually owned, so we were talking about that. So what he means by tickle a jeweler is if you want specific brands right now at retail, like going into the store and buying them, like Rolex, some Audemars Piguets, and some Pateks, you really have to spend a ton of money to get them and jump through all these hoops. I won't get into too much more details, but that's what he's talking about. So as far as the watches I have, really quick, I'll run it down. Currently, I have a Sky Dweller steel black dial. I have a Sea Dweller, the anniversary one. Those are Rolexes. People are going to want a price on them. So if you could buy them at the store, the Sky Dweller is probably like $15,000. The Sea Dweller may have moved up to like 13 or 14. I think it was 11 and a half when I got it. And I also have an Omega Dark Side of the Moon. I did have a Planet Ocean Deep Black, but I let that one go quickly because it was just so thick. Like, it's 18 millimeter thick watch. It's just ridiculous. So the genesis of this is I started out wearing watches for a long time. I think I've gone through like big Movado phase. I had a big Omega phase. I've owned Aquaterras, Planet Oceans, Speedmasters, Seamasters, you name it, like all of those. And the cool thing about Omega is you can buy them used for like not that much money relative to what they cost new, like $3,000-$4,000, something like that. Then I got into Rolex. I had a GMT Master, the black one, of course. I had an Explorer. I had a Daytona, believe it or not. I bought the Daytona before the price went crazy. Now they're trading for like 30 grand. So I had the black dial Daytona ceramic one when it was probably trading for like 14 or 15, which at the time was maybe like $5,000 over list. I sold a Speedmaster and Explorer to get it. I traded the Daytona, almost a straight trade, for the Sky Dweller because the Daytona is a very small watch and it doesn't have the date, which I didn't care for. I know Rolex says it's 40 millimeters, but it's not. So I traded for a straight trade for the Sky Dweller, which at the time was a good move. Value-wise now, probably not a good move, but zero regrets for the watch. And I picked up the Sea Dweller as well. That one I actually got at retail right before things went crazy in probably 2018 or 2019. I don't wear the Dark Side of the Moon as much as I thought I would. I like it aesthetically. I don't know. I might end up selling it. For me, it's really hard to own more than a few of these because, to your point, the price. Like, it's a lot of money to keep in the watch roll, and so I kind of feel silly if I'm not wearing the Sky Dweller or the Sea Dweller, so it's tough for me to own more than that. I do like the Rose Gold Yacht Master. I don't even like gold that much, but that one's cool. So that's what's in the watch roll right now. Again, I wear predominantly the Sky Dweller or the Sea Dweller is probably the one you see the most. Dark Side, I don't know if it's going to stay. My Planet Ocean did get flipped because it was just too thick. So that is my watch deal. If you want more, let me know down below. Anything else other than that, we will probably bore a lot of people, but I do really enjoy watches. If I could start any other YouTube channel, it would probably be talking about watches or Apple stuff, I think. So that's what we're going with today. All right, Kazi, 2 in a row. RJ, do you think Discover would ever make new cards in a new lounge and a lounge network? No to both. Very easy. Discover has no interest in doing any of that. I can't tell you the last time they launched a new credit card. Lounges, they have a miles card, but it's so forgotten about that I just don't see it ever happening, kind of like the Citi deal. Discover just doesn't care at all. But they have their core customer base. It works for them, and they were successful, but they have no interest there. And then your follow-up is, do you think Wells Fargo would ever get into making their own lounges? Also, no. They're supposed to be revamping their credit card line. We don't know when they're coming. Even when they had a whole credit card set up, it was known for free. It was like the free trifecta that everyone liked. But no, I can't see Wells Fargo doing either. They're still, they're cash back and they had like a reluctant travel setup, I guess you could say. But, insert your fraud jokes there. I'm sure there are going to be some, like you walk in a lounge and just like 8 lounges, it's really just one or something like that. But No, I don't. I don't think they're going to. I don't think either one of them will, honestly. So, you know, we'll leave it to Chase and Capital One and Amex, I guess. Mark Schubert here. Do you think BILT will add a higher multiplier for groceries? I feel like I'm just saying no a lot to a lot of these today, but also no. I don't. I'll put up what BILT offers now. I think BILT's probably in. I'd like to know more about BILT. We were actually talking about this on my channel member Discord the other day. It's a no annual fee card. They do have, they're probably very popular for paying rent because they're the only card. And granted, it's only 1% back, but, I just wonder what the cost setup is like over there. I would probably guess that part of the move to Wells Fargo was probably to help support the cost of running the card that, doesn't have an annual fee. And obviously, they're trying to make it a backup on swipe fees and things like that. But if you're paying someone that's outside their rental network, then there's probably costs associated that they have to eat with that, because they're still not charging the customer. I saw a Twitter thread with, I forget, it was something Kerr from, I used to work for like TPG or something, who went over there to help BILT out, like run their travel or rewards or something. He was online asking on Twitter, asking people like, hey, what they wanted to see in the card. And he was like, besides a welcome offer, because we're not going to go broke through customer acquisition. So I think they're probably doing fine. Profitability, who's to say? But I think they don't even let you cash out your points or straight cash. It has to be through their program or through the travel partners, which are good. But because of that and where they're at, I don't see them juicing up any of the rewards. And they really don't have to, because there's no competitor. Yes, it's just 1% back on rent, but there's no competitor to that. So, maybe if they wanted to entice you to use the card more, I think they'd probably add in more restrictions that you have to use it so much to qualify for the 1% back on rent. But I don't think they're going to do any changes anytime soon, unfortunately. So maybe we can find a question I'm like positive about. Abdu Ali's World, young up-and-comer, coming credit card YouTuber himself. Good to see you, sir. Do you think it's a trend to hate, or hate might be a bad word, people that are on Team Cashback? No, I don't think people hate or dislike people who are in Team Cashback. I think objectively travel is more interesting, and objectively travel probably does get the better value when you go out of your way to make good redemptions, right? So I don't think people hate cashback. I think the vast majority of the population will be better served using a cashback setup than trying to manage all these travel rewards and points and things like that. I don't think there's a huge interest in there from the masses here in this very niche world. I do think travel is predominantly because, again, people know what to do, and those videos are easier. I mean, I saw Ask Sebi posted a video of some Hyatt he was staying like cabin type deal, and objectively it looked pretty cool. I mean, I was with it until I saw the exercise room. There was like one treadmill and the weights only went up to like 40 pounds. And I was like, I don't care how fancy this is. This is not going to work for me. But you show people that trip and you price it out and you say, hey, I got this because I had a free night award on one Hyatt card and I was able to use these points, and it's actually not that hard to do. Then I think travel just becomes more popular. But I don't think anyone hates or dislikes or looks down upon cashback. I think, some travel folks might say, hey, you're leaving money on the table. But I've always felt like in this game, most people feel like as long as you're playing and you're getting value out of it, then we're generally, there's like a level of like a head nod, right? Like, all right, I see you in the game, no big deal. So no, I don't, as a Team Cashback person, I don't feel that way too much. I think just travel's more popular. They hate me. Maybe he hates it. I don't know. Let's see. Do you foresee any new credit cards or refreshes occurring between now and the end of the year? I mean, who would be up for refreshes of things? I mean, if you want to count the Freedom Rise, then sure, we got a new credit card. We've got some new cards here and there we've talked about, like Avon or Avon we talked about, but nothing fancy. No, I mean, not really. I think it'd be interesting off of the Marriott Hyatt partnership, the Marriott MGM partnership, if that MGM card that's with FNBO moved or like that got refreshed or kind of brought underneath the Marriott banner somehow. I think that could be interesting. I don't know it's going to happen. Again, MGM would have to care, but I think that card could actually do a lot better if it was with an American Express or a Chase who actually owns, they both split the Marriott portfolio. Citi, or not Citi. Well, yeah, Citi. I mean, we've been talking about the Strata cards forever. At this point, I have no idea. Wells Fargo did have on their business page they were coming out with a new business card. who's to say? I mean, I don't think it's going to be amazing by any stretch, but it's on the radar. I mean, the refreshes, the ones we want to see, are always, the Sapphire line that we've probably talked about. I do think at some point Capital One is probably going to tweak the Venture X. I just don't think it's going to last forever, being able to come out ahead $5 if you use all the cards. American Express very rarely tweaks their cards. Well, we did see the American Airlines at Citi. That card got tweaked a little bit. But Amex rarely tweaks things too much. So now I guess I don't see too many more tweaks coming. I think a lot of issuers are just kind of holding fast right now and seeing how everything's going to play out. So those would be my ones to watch. But I mean, if I look down the Chase lineup, I think they're set. Amex is pretty set. They don't care. Discover, we kind of talked to them, they don't do anything. So Wells Fargo and I guess Citi are the ones to watch outside of the other smaller groups. The other one, the outside factor, could be the Apple Card. If it were to move quickly to a new issuer, if it was to move to Amex, I do think it would change probably for the worse. If it was to move to someone like a Chase, I think it would change to the better. But again, I think a deal's far off, even if I think they're farther along in a deal than they're making it sound. But I think it would still take a while to get that done. But you could put an eye on that one either. But it's been a good year for offers. It's been a slow year for new cards, though, I would say. So, but I like to be surprised, so hopefully. All right, next up. Have you ever earned a card bonus in a single swipe just for fun? Tell us about what you bought. Yeah, so I mean, I could have done it a few different times. So he's talking about just getting a credit card, have the intro bonus, then the spend, taking care of it one swipe, never use it again. So there's been a few times I could have done it, but sometimes the credit limits doesn't work out. So one time I know I did it for real was Wells Fargo on their old business card, the Business Platinum. It's spend $3,000 to get $300 back. That was part of that Wells Fargo road trip I did. It wasn't anything fun. It was a Father's Day thing. Every old man has to have their chair, their lazy boy chair, which I guess this is my chair. But anyways, for Father's Day, we were buying my dad a new chair, from the family, right? And so I got him I'll do it, but you put it on my card, then everyone pays me. And I think it was some kind of fancy lazy boy deal. Looks like Captain Picard's chair from the Enterprise. But that was one swipe. Got the bonus, never used the card again. The Ink Premier would have been one swipe, so they didn't give me enough credit limit, so I had to break it up into two. That was when I paid my car off through plastic. I don't think there's other ones that were just one swipe. Usually it's a few different swipes, it's a lot of credit. The Ink Unlimited is a lot of credit card funding and stuff like that. Maybe a long time ago, actually, I had a Marriott, the dark blue one from Chase, and I used that for a work. We were going to some work conference thing, and I declined to put it on the corporate card, my boss's card, and put it on mine. I think I put mine and someone else's on mine the trip for this conference thing. So maybe one or two swipes, but usually the only time is that one, but usually I can get it within 2 or 3 if it's well planned out. So I would like to do more. I just need more credit limits. Because I'm not counting the small ones or hey, spend $300 or spend $1,000. I'm really just talking about the business cards. I think that's the spirit of the question, not the Freedom Flex, spend $500. Because the first time I ever did it would have been the OG Freedom. I was at my tailor buying the custom dress shirts, where they measure you up, ship it out to Italy, and they make it, and it comes back for you. It sounded pretentious, but but that was only spend $500 to get $200 back. So of course I took care of my shirts for $150 each or something. So those would be the times that come to mind in the spirit of the question. So DJ, what's a good no annual fee travel card? I think I agree with the person who responded. The Wells Fargo autograph is probably your best bet. I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, so obviously all the main chains have their own no annual fee travel card, right, that you can get, that intro level card, but it doesn't do a whole heck of a lot. So are those really worth your time? I mean, probably not unless you're just looking for hey, I want a no foreign transaction fee or something. Again, autograph is good. I almost think you're probably better off going just cash back. And if you were going to buy I know Delta, I think Southwest, for example, they have gift cards at grocery stores that you can buy, and then you can just get 5% back through a category card that way. Because the no annual fee travel cards don't really offer anything. They're just they're there for people who want to use the credit card and just get easy points, but you're talking about 1 or 2x back, which is really no better than a double cash. So if you want a good no annual fee travel card, I think you maybe, if you're going internationally, then you're going to want something with no foreign transaction fees. But after that basis coverage, you're probably better off going just building out a cashback setup and optimizing that way, and knowing you're just not going to have a fancy airport experience. I would say that. So again, I agree with the person who said the autograph down below. No annual fee. It covers a lot of bases. Again, you could pair it with an active cash if you wanted to, or you could kind of go around, build out a stronger cashback setup. But if you have a specific airline in mind or a hotel chain in mind, you could look at those entry-level cards. Each of one of them offer and see if there's a perk that you like, but usually they don't offer a ton. That's kind of like their gateway to get you in and then move you up to the more pricier card. So that would be my choice as well. Of course, you guys have a better choice. Feel free to drop it down below for us. All right, Leprechaun. This was in Atlantic City for an entire week for the 4th to celebrate the British defeat. Lots of booze, dancers, not so chic. How do I clean my charges to look real neat? You, my friend, should probably pay cash for most things, or just gold bullion or whatever it is that you do being a leprechaun. But you, my friend, you should probably pay cash, some kind of cryptocurrency, or you probably don't want these things on your card, or you want to run your card through like a Curve or PayPal bill pay that hides what it is. I think that's what you're looking for. Cash and carry, taken everywhere, found nowhere, no questions asked. I think that's what you're looking for. No rewards points, but for this stuff, I think you're good giving up the 1 or 2% back. Hope you had a good time though. Nathan here. Hey RJ, would you switch any card issuers? What would it be? For example, I would love to see the PayPal card be issued by Chase instead of Synchrony. I think the PayPal's a good one. Do they get the 5% back if they move to Chase? No, they might bump it up to 4 though, because Chase is pretty aggressive and PayPal's a good card. I think the Apple Card's another one. I think, again, bias, if it was with Chase, I do think they'd go 4 to 5%. Versus 3. If they went to Amex, I think it would be bad. I think they wouldn't want to, they'd probably try to cap it or something. I actually think the Saver One, I'd like to see move from Capital One and move it to, I don't care, a Citi maybe, someone like that. I just think Capital One's rules are very annoying. So I would like to see that card move just to get away from the Capital One. Can you have 1? Can you have 2 type deal? U.S. Bank would be a big one. I wish all of U.S. Bank cards would move to someone else, especially the Altitude Go and the Cash Plus, because, again, their redemption rules are very annoying. I don't know if this is the spirit of your question or not, but I just hate that they have that $25 minimum. Same with the PNC Cash Rewards card, the green one. They have redemption limits as well, I think, and they're not nationwide, I don't think. So I'd like to see them move to a larger issue. Again, they're cash back, so it wouldn't beat American Express. But I think I pick anyone who doesn't really have credit card limits. That's why I kind of remove Amex out of it, because they have credit card limits. They can only have 4 or 5. So, I would like to see that card move. Who else? I'll say the Verizon card as well. I would, as a Verizon customer, I would want that to be moved. That seems like Citi has AT&T, and that card's not very good, but I would like to see that one moved as well. I've always loved the PlayStation card and the Best Buy card as well. Cards like that, PlayStation is huge. PlayStation should be a bigger card. Best Buy should also be bigger. I know it's with Citi, but the Best Buy, ever since they made point, you only earn points now if you have the Best Buy card, not if you're just a regular Best Buy member. So seeing the Best Buy card move, someone else do something more with it, change the rewards program. Granted, I think Best Buy gets a lot of say in that, but update that so there's not just these weird reward certificates. I think that would be good. We just named a lot of cards. So there's a lot of cards, and the answer always comes to move it to Chase, move it to Citi. I think Bank of America might be okay. I think those would be the ones I'd move. So that's a fair amount. There's a lot of good co-branded cards out there that I think could be better with people who are more aggressive out there, and Synchrony's not known for being aggressive. I don't even think they consult on the card design. I think it's just, sure, we'll do the lending piece. As well. Then the max, you could also go with the Elan credit card system. More banks should adopt that into their own fold, so you don't have to go through the Elan, because they have the same U.S. Bank limitation redemption. So those would be my choices, which is basically all of them, which I basically just said, move them to my favorite issuers. Of course, you run into 524 issues, but over time, I think it would be worth it. Edward here. RJ, I know my ideal setup now in the Chase setup. We'll take advantage of hotel anniversary nights and use a Sapphire Preferred to book airlines with points gathered. Just need an airport lounge card. Breaking my head between the Venture X and Altitude Reserve. As someone who wants to save money on travel and flies once or max twice a year, will be your choice? Honestly, if you tell me you want to save money and I know you said save money on travel, but it's like once or twice a year. I mean, I don't really know if you need a hotel or a dedicated lounge card, honestly. Out of the two you've named, I would go the Venture X because if you do everything with the Venture X, you can come out ahead by $5, which would be very helpful. Altitude Reserve is not bad. I'm just against it because they never let you pair altitude points, even though they've started to specify that on some of their business cards, which I find annoying. So for that reason, I don't really go Altitude Reserve because it could be better and they're perfectly nerfing it. By the way, if it's loud, I think the lawn care people just showed up next door, so we can't really do anything about that. But in case you hear that, I can hear it. It's very annoying. That's why I don't like summers. People go outside and do this stuff. Like, just stay inside so I can do this. But anyways, back to the question. I think you might be better served, like, even like, was it the Amex? One of the Amex Hilton cards gives you like 10 passes a year or something, plus you get some perks at Hilton. That could be good. You could also just look at buying lounge passes if they're in the Lounge Buddy. You can buy them through Lounge Buddy or something. That could be an option as well. In addition to that, I think you're looking at maybe the green card potentially, because that gives you some Lounge Buddy passes, depending on how that works for you, multiplier and travel wise. But out of the ones you listed, I go Venture X for that reason, because you can make $5 if you use that card. It's got the credit, you can rent a car of that thing. But really, for 2 trips, again, if you want to do lounges, by all means, don't let me talk you out of it. But I don't know that it's necessary for 2 trips a year. But those would be my choices. I think Venture X, decent enough choice there. Plus, you can pair it with the Saver One down the line if you wanted to and start pooling points easier. And it's got 2x back, so we'll cover a lot of bases just for regular day-to-day use. All right, Jimmy James, when you decide to join Team Travel, are you going to Hawaii, Europe, or Asia? At some point I'll go to Hawaii just because I was trying to go to every state. I have no desire to go to Hawaii, as I understand it's just one giant beach. Like, I'm good. I don't like the beach. No interest. I will go just to say I went and cross it off the list. Europe probably be fun, but Europe's like a bunch of different spot. So I think it would be fun if you're going to go to Europe, like to line it up with like a Formula One race or something. Pick a race to go to maybe and go to a few other countries while you're over there. I have no idea what's in Asia. So I guess out of this, I'd pick Europe. Australia already seems fun because you're on the other side of the world. So I'd go Europe or Australia maybe, something like that. Line it up with a Formula One race perhaps. You can say you did it and some other touristy stuff. I'd need a lot of points to do that, though. A lot of points, because I don't want to pay cash. So we've got some work to do, some intro offers to get. I'll take your recommendations down below. All right, man, haven't seen this guy in a while. Welcome back. Does having a car loan affect your debt to income ratio? Yes, but I want to make sure we're all talking the same language here. So because we focus on credit cards so much, there's credit utilization. Credit utilization is like that FICO wheel, and that's based on your revolving lines of credit, which are predominantly credit cards. You could technically have personal loans and home equity lines in there, but predominantly credit cards. So credit utilization takes, the amount of credit you have available to it versus the amount of credit you have outstanding, how much you owe, and that's how much your credit utilization is. Now, if you were going to get like a personal loan or mortgage, debt to income takes in count all the money you owe across revolving lines, credit cards, across car loans, other mortgages, personal loans, you name it. Basically anything that comes up on your credit report and it says you make this much money, you owe this much, then they come up with the ratio, and that's how they get the debt to income, and they use that to figure out how much they can afford to give you because you have other commitments. So yes, a car loan would come up in that. They'd be looking at your monthly payment. So it's a monthly calculation predominantly done for mortgages. So they know that, hey, we didn't give you too much. You can handle this payment given your other obligations. So yes, a car loan would count. So if you're going to get a mortgage or some big loan, and you want it affects your purchase power, really. That's kind of the big deal there. So because it affects your purchase power, if you wanted to be able to buy more home, then you just pay that off first. Sounds easier said than done, but then they say, hey, okay, you owe less, so we can lend you more. So that's how that works, to answer the long way to answer your question. But just make sure we're all talking the same language. All right, next up, two more to go actually. So ATM, do split payment transactions where one payment method is a card that has insurance benefits still provide coverage. For instance, CSP for lost luggage insurance, CDW, or the Freedom Flex for cell phone insurance. So most of the time you have to make the full charge on the card. So for cell phone insurance, they definitely look for you paying the full thing with the credit card for coverage. And if you ever have to file a claim, they're going to have you're going to submit a receipt, one for your phone bill and the price of the phone, and I think a credit card statement. So they make sure everything matches up that way. For the travel insurance, I do believe for some of them, like if you were paying with points, or you just paid a little portion of it with the credit card, I do think that has worked in the past for coverage. It's kind of one of those, like every network benefits a little bit different, so you kind of have to go through them and see if you have someone specific. But for phones, yes, you're going to pay the full deal. And then for travel insurance, I do believe it works where you can just pay part of it. But again, you're going to want to check depending on the card itself and the network benefits they offer. So next up, last up, Jeremy, good friend of the show, coming in here. Do you think the cashback percent, like 5%, would go down or away? It seems lenders are getting stricter on issuing cards. I think lenders are getting a little bit stricter from a profitability standpoint. We see Citi Guard, the Citi Premier, quite a bit for some reason when they put a big offer behind it. I think, at times where I've always felt like you don't need a chart or a graph to tell you if you're actually in a recession or not. For half the time, the banks were trying to will us into a recession so they could buy assets on the cheap, and then it worked out better for them. So I do think they get nervous because you're not allowed to ask for context during a credit application. I don't think they're going to mess with the existing rewards structure. I mean, if anything, I think they would start to impose caps on it. Like the 5% cards usually have a cap, so if anything, they would tweak the cap if they had to. But I don't think that's going to happen too much, honestly. I think. Yeah, because I don't. I mean, 1,500 on the Freedoms. Cash Plus is 2,000. So I think we're good there. Now, will new cards continue to come out and be just as competitive? I mean, remains to be seen because, again, we have, a lot of 5% cards already. I think they could also go down the route of limiting how many you have. Like, I know we all yell at Chase for having 524, but the fact that Chase, lets you have 4 Freedom cards, 5 Freedom cards is, pretty good. The fact you can still get multiple custom cash cards through product changing. So if anything, they might start to limit it that way to say, dude, you can't have 10 of these things. Like I could see them doing that before they start nerfing the regular cards, because again, a lot of these are meant to bring in the casual who's only ever going to have one card to begin with. And then some of these, like the Amazon card, we know that Amazon was very mad at Chase a while back. So, I can't imagine them being able to nerf some of these co-branded deals because the co-branded partner doesn't really care about your risk. They just want as many people as they can get. So I think we're safe. I think if they did it, they would just tighten up how many you could have. I mean, we saw Chase try to flip some Freedoms to Freedom Unlimiteds and say it was an upgrade, but they didn't force you to do it. I've seen like they're stopping to let people change to the OG Freedom now as well. So, I think you can see them go that route over than just say, hey, 5% is now too much. But hopefully, I hope to be right on that one. And cutting in here, editor RJ, don't even have a collar on my shirt, but Luke's Points and Miles has a late submission, so we're going to answer it and throw it in this timeline over here. So Luke asked, if I were to land a cool remote job, would I stick around in Michigan where I'm based at now? Where would I go? And it is an interesting question because I'm still interviewing for jobs. I've never really cared much about where I live. I just happen to live in Michigan because that's where I happen to be from. So I haven't really given it much thought. I don't have many preferences temperature-wise. I suppose I prefer it colder because I don't like it when you walk out of the gym and you just sweat through your shirt and you just took a shower. But I would probably prioritize it something around places that have no state tax. I think that would be the way to go. I think Florida, Texas, Nevada probably will be tops on the list. There are still places that aren't in the middle of nowhere. They get super hot, which isn't fun, but I don't go outside much, so I think that's fine. That's not going to bother me. We'll just get a heavy AC deal or a fan or something and be fine. But if I were to do it, I would probably go just prioritize a no state tax deal? That is an interesting question, because if you do land a remote job, you can go anywhere. So I haven't really given it much thought, but maybe I should. So give me your recommendations down below. If you could be a traveling digital nomad of sorts, where would you go? Or would you go with van life? Weirdly enough, I don't like going outside, but there's this young lady who has this channel about living in a van, and like I'm actually obsessed with it. I don't know. I think her name's Christian Schaefer. I'll put some B-roll up, but she does these really great establishing shots in the beginning of her video of these national parks and places she's going. And again, I have noticed her to actually go, and I've been to some national parks, like the one where the geyser shoots up and everything. But anyways, I find that fascinating. That whole life, that level of freedom, I guess, just fascinating, even though I wouldn't spend nearly that much time outside. So anyways, check out her channel if you're into van life and just living anywhere. Let me know down below. And see, Luke, this is how much I love you, the last minute ad in the video. So all right, back to the scheduled timeline over there. So anyways, guys, that has been your questions for this go-around of July. So hopefully I got everyone answered. Of course, if you need more context, feel free to drop me a comment down below or add to the conversation. And, I already asked you a bunch of questions, so I'll just say, hey, if you want more information, more profitable content, well, then check out the channel's blog, which is profitablecontent.com, where we have the latest news stories, credit card offers, and bank promotions. It's always linked on the homepage for you and down below. Anyways, guys, of course, if you would like this one, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found it particularly interesting, consider subscribing to the channel, because, again, we're posting content just like this every single week and right back here every Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. Of course, every day over on Profitable Content, as we just said. Again, I already asked you guys some questions, so thank you so much for writing in. I'll catch you very soon in the next one.